If you're a golfer, you know what the term mulligan means. Mulligan is when, in a friendly round of 18, you receive from the others in your group a free second shot, usually for a poor effort off the tee. Trust me, I know what this is. And this, of course, can never be applied in an amateur or professional match. A simpler term might be a do-over. Wouldn't it be great if many of our errant shots in life could get a mulligan or a do-over? How many times have we thought or said, oh, if I could only get that conversation or response back and say things maybe a different way? Or, wow, if I would have only been wiser when I chose that action, I wouldn't do that again. Or I sure wish I would have been more loving or not been so tough on the people I love. Unfortunately, as I alluded to in a recent post on background, we can't rewind some sort of clock or find an eraser that takes away something we personally did, goofed up, or simply failed big time at. We may have disobeyed God's guidance and screwed things up in a major way. However, there's some good news. We serve a God of second chances, or we get a mulligan, or two, or three. Why? Because we're so wonderful? No, because God is loving and forgiving. See, he still sees us who know Christ and follow him through what Jesus did on the cross, paying for our sin and our selfishness, not our actions. We get a do-over. We can start again, so to speak. Now, are there sometimes consequences for our actions? Of course. See, that's why God gave us his wisdom and his guidance and commands in the first place. Second chances aren't always without the lingering results of our miscues. But God doesn't hold them against us and put us in some sort of emotional and spiritual prison. See, 1 John chapter 1, verse 9 says, and this was written to Christians, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just and will forgive us our sins, our selfishness, and purify us from all unrighteousness. Or in the Old Testament book of Lamentations, one we probably don't read a whole lot, it says this, yet I call this to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we're not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They're new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And there's a long time hymn around with those words. See, if Satan uses anything to keep us from moving forward and serving God with all our heart and soul and mind, it's accusing us of having messed up, just one too many times. See, he wants us to believe that God's given up on us and that we might as well forget about doing anything significant for him anymore. There's a guy I used to meet with who I met through a church that I served in as a pastor. I'll call him Al. He was, and technically still is, an alcoholic. For a long time, he was a chain smoker and this purveyor of F-bombs in our regular conversations. I found out months after I first met with Al that much of what he had told me about himself and his fairly significant accomplishments weren't totally true. We couldn't even meet inside of a coffee shop because of, his smoking and flowery language. But I met with him regularly for years. I loved this guy. There were times when I was ready to quit, giving him my time and my help. But God kept coming back and offering this friend scores of mulligans and redos over and over. And I'm so glad I didn't quit on him. See, Al's always had a tender heart. And if I were ever in a tough situation where someone was going to come after me, I didn't want my friend Al next to me. The good news is now he's married, has some wonderful kids, and has overcome his alcohol addiction for years now. And he's a responsible husband and father, though I'm sure he's not perfect. He probably still needs a mulligan now and then. And there are some ramifications of the past, but I think those are more rare than regular now. See, let's face it, we all need God's mulligans, don't we? As we head into a new year on the calendar, I pray that we'll all begin 2025 with in a sense, clean slate. Because we know that we're not disqualified. God's not thrown us out of the family. We might have gotten distracted for sure. I've talked before about the great leaders in the Bible who all pretty much needed do-overs during their journey with God. So I'll just ask you, what's holding you back from starting or continuing to serve God and be the person He knows you can be in your home, your church, your community, your family, at work, etc.? See, remember, God has freely given us mulligans, and He still will. Don't hesitate because of some sense or belief that there's a penalty you need to pay now or that you're out of the tournament. Grab a new ball, so to speak. Step up to the tee and hit the best shot you can. Although you might want to tell nearby spectators to still get out of the way. That's what I'd do if I were playing golf. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.